Everybody, welcome to UGASports Live. My name is Rodney DeBulce. I'm joined by Jake Roos, Dan Young, and of course, former Georgia head coach Jim Donnan. Of course, we all have to be in separate places right now, but Jake and I are actually at Classic City Eats.
We get to be in the best place.
We do get to be in the best place, and we have a bunch of folks watching. A big shout out to Randy and Ryan who have come in to celebrate a retirement here at Classic City Eats. Our congratulations to
Cheers,
the elder there, Randy, and his 42 years of work, and then of course. Shout out to Ryan, who serves and protects, in the sheriff's department. So we got them. We have a bunch of other people here at Classic City Eats, Hop in Place, the cleanest place you'll ever find because they come in and fog every night with the disinfectant. So, of course, everyone in here is wearing masks when they come in. Then they take them off to eat. So if you want to get out and you're worried about the atmosphere or the dangers of COVID out there, can guarantee you a safe place as you'll ever find is with our friends here at Classic City Eats. And shout out to Josh and Amy for handling this situation as well as anyone could. A lot going on right now.
No, not really, huh?
When you have to do like the threads on the dog vent, we do like doing our coaching search, 7 a.m. update, 7:30 updates, 8:45 update.
That was one of the more insane 24-hour stretches.
Yesterday, it was Sunday night through Monday night, just absolute insanity going on. If you're listening to this show on Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday, we could get into the minutia of where things stand right now. We'll do that later in the show, but there's too many moving parts right now. I want to jump right into something we know that has happened.
Few and far between in this.
Reports go out, then reports are retracted. Alternative reports come out. Contradictory quotes come out, be it from a commissioner, an athletic director, a coach, a president. You see all this stuff going on out there. And I want to say, Jake, here's something we know that happened that may have been lost in all this football talk. Georgia got to commit.
Yeah, I kind of felt bad for the kid. I really did. Yesterday seemed like one of those bad news dump days. It was like, if you got anything that you want to put out, now's a great time to get it out because there's 1,000 different things going on. Georgia got huge news.
Dan Young is fired.
And it did. This is an inappropriate time. You got to wait for the next Friday dump. No, huge news, though, for Georgia. The biggest target at tight end for them. They had opportunities to add other guys throughout this class. Talented players have not
they
really
turned them down.
They did. They sure did. They had some guys that wanted to come, and they stuck to their guns. And Brock Bowers now a part of the class number 102. I want to say 101. Ish. He's top one. He's top 250.
106.
Something like that. There you go. 6'3", 225 pounds. A kid from Napa, California. So getting it done out on the West Coast again. Todd Hartley, back to back out there, man, doing some work in Las Vegas last year. Now Napa this year.
That's the only reason he's getting those kids. He likes the freaking flyer.
Yeah, no doubt, dude. Last year it was about gambling. This year it's about drinking wine.
Yeah.
So, no, I think this was a huge get for Georgia, though. A guy they had prioritized from the jump. Had really kind of put all their eggs into that basket. And there was really no way to sugarcoat if they had lost Bowers because they had, like we said, they'd turned down some other guys who were very talented in order to get him. Go turn the film on this kid. Really like what he brings to it. Georgia likes his versatility as well. He's not Darnell Washington. I know people love that giant tight end, 6'8". This kid is a lot more like Isaac Nada, in my opinion. And I wrote that yesterday in the What It Means piece over on UGASports.com. Just a guy with solid hands, can break tackles, great balance, does a little bit of everything, does it well, plays from the H-back spot, can handle the direct snap, plays from tight end spot. He's a blocker, just a versatile kid, and a little bit of a do-it-all for his team there in Napa. I think Georgia likes that versatility a lot.
Coach, give us your take on Brock Bowers. I mean, I've seen how many college professional coaches reach out to you for player evaluations. I know you watch their tape, and I know you've got thoughts on it. Give us your thoughts on Brock Bowers, if you would.
Well, the first thing which Jake alluded to is the fact that, as a coach, as a staff, as a program, you target guys that you feel like meet the needs of what you're doing. And sometimes you're able to be that selective and get the guy, and sometimes it doesn't work out, and you bring in another guy to hopefully develop. And I think this guy right here is somebody that we're not going to have to develop within the Todd Monken scheme. He's a guy that really fits the mode of what Todd's used over the years. And if you just look at some of the success that they had at Tampa Bay, throwing the ball, moving around, that kid from Alabama did really well for him. Not only last year, but it's really a good player. So I just think I know how Kirby and Coach Hartley, I know how they put their mind to who they want to get, and it just seems like Jake was talking about, there were some really good players that I felt like were really up right there at the top that wanted to come here, and sometimes that comes back to haunt you when you let them go, and kind of like Elam went to Florida, and was a freshman All-American last year. So that corner, is that his name?
Kyer Elam. Yep.
So, but in this case, we have some younger tight ends here, and of course Washington is just a really big, strong, physical guy. But I think just like going out and getting the kid from Florida State, he was a need for us from an experience standpoint. And I thought that was smart. I think if you just look at our MO, what we do in recruiting and roster management and all, is we target people that fit our system. And I think regardless of where they're from, here's a kid from Napa, California, that we got in on early. And you just look at the success that Todd Hartley's had in his couple of years here. He's really a dynamite recruiter that we need on that side of the ball. And I think that we'll see a lot out of. I like the fact that this kid came and visited on his own too, which when the guy on your right was right there at whatever that place was and snuffed him out and got a good interview with him. But that shows to me he's the kind of kid that really is looking for the overall Georgia experience, and we'll see how it works out. But I like the tape. I think a good comparison is Nauta, a guy that can run down the middle, a guy that can line up and shift out to a wide receiver or a slot type deal. And he's going to definitely, with his frame, he's going to put on weight and strength, but he's not really as tall as Fitzpatrick or Godey. But, he's definitely a second-ranked tight end in the country. What do you want? That's good.
Well, and I really appreciate what you said, Coach, about being developed. And I wrote about that yesterday in the What It Means piece. This is a kid, and this is no knock on Darnell because it just is what it is. Darnell has not really had to refine a lot in his game because he's able to just smack high school kids out of the way like gnats, just by virtue of being so big. This is a kid who's really had to sort of flesh out his skill set, I think, and comes in, I think, ready to maybe contribute early on in his career just because of all the things he does and does so well.
One other thing that I would point out, and we've seen that a lot here in the evolution of football in the state of Georgia and the surrounding contiguous states, you're seeing a lot more of the model where kids can run the West Coast type route running, where you can read coverages and break your routes off. And, if it's man coverage, do one thing. If it's zone, do the other. But kids on the West Coast have always had that little bit of an advantage because that's the style out there as compared to 10, 15 years ago. Georgia's hammer and tong state, everybody just knock you off the ball, run the I formation and slam it. This kid has been involved in some really good coaching and some good work, learning how to use his frame and learning how to run routes. And I can see him coming in here in the spring. I guess he's not going to play this fall since California's not playing at all. That there'd been some talk about him maybe going to Nevada, but they're not playing either. So I can see him coming in the spring and really jumping right in there and making that room even better than it is.
I think about the fact that he actually came up on his own, and of course, mainly to meet with you, I'm sure. To give you an interview.
Absolutely.
But Dane, give us a quick rundown about the fact that Georgia has a 5-star quarterback 10 minutes from campus, not too far from where you live, who can step up with a guy like that and say, hey, let me show you around campus. Let's throw the ball around. Brock to Brock, who's able to sell him on that. I think when I looked at the reactions to Brock Bowers committing, Brock Vandagriff seemed to be pretty excited about it. Dane, give us your take.
I mean, Brock Vandagriff is invaluable at this point. He's got a lot of things that you saw from Richard LeCount, a lot of things you saw from Miko Hardman in terms of getting a class together and just rallying these guys. It's still pretty early on out. I mean, these guys have another season left, but I mean, Brock Vandagriff decommitted from Oklahoma, went to Georgia, and he has been 100% going after everyone that he wants to play with, and that shows that he wants to win a lot of games at Georgia, which is just tremendous. I think too, you have to look at what Kirby Smart and Todd Hartley have done to really revitalize the tight end position in the last 20 months. So when Isaac Nauta went pro and Luke Ford transfers out, there was a hole at that position. And I think Kirby would even admit that being the case. They bring in Eli Wolf from Tennessee. They bring in Trey McKitty for the upcoming year. You still have Ryland Goody, you have John Fitzpatrick. But now you have Darnell Washington and Brock Bowers. Man, that's quick work to fix a position. That's what roster management is.
Well, and you know what? One of the biggest things I love about this move for Georgia is now you've got Bowers in, probably the only target they're going to take at tight end. Doesn't look like they're interested in a second in this class. Hey, that frees up Todd Hartley. Now he's able to go out and recruit something else. And you got to love what he's been able to do there, as Dane said.
Can he go talk to Amarius Mims?
I think he might. I think he might.
Well, I mean, Todd Hartley might be used in South Florida, right? I mean, there's a little bit of a recruiting gap there, and he knows it.
Got some ties down
Miami,
there.
and Georgia's been having a little bit of trouble, you know, and since he lost James Coley. So if you want to replace Coley, Todd Hartley would be a good fit for that Miami area. Coach Donna can tell us exactly how hard it is to recruit Miami, but at least, you know, Todd's got has been there, and he gets along with people. Todd's a rising star in this league, folks. I'm just telling you, he's coming up quick.
A good job in Jacksonville, though. I mean, he's got that area, and you know, I don't know. I think between Hankton and Coach Warren, they'll probably hit that. But we definitely have taken a step back in our Miami recruiting right now, just because it would happen to anybody when you got a guy that's solidly entrenched like Coley was. But you look at some of the guys that he had on the hook and where they've gone, and you look at Florida the last 2 days, picking up a corner and a safety that you'd never see them getting in the past. Not necessarily that we were on either one of them, but we were certainly on James Williams and the kid that went to Brinson, the receiver, and also Turner. We were in on all three of those, weren't we, Jake?
Yeah, Romello Brinson, Dallas Turner, and James Williams. All three big hits, no way to spin that. Guys Georgia would have taken in a heartbeat. Tough sledding down there in Miami.
Yeah, well, they'll get him back. Speaking of tough sledding, I can tell you about all the deals at Athens Ford right now, but I want to mention something that on my way here, I'm driving a Ford Explorer that I picked up from Athens Ford a couple years ago. Went through their multiple inspections when they're certified pre-owned vehicles. They are the state's best certified pre-owned Ford resellers. Of course, everything they sell comes with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Even their used vehicles, so long as they're under 80,000 miles. Of course, all their new ones come with it. Fantastic service. They're doing the, hey, you want to take a test drive? We'll drop it off at your house. You drive it, then we'll pick it up later. You know, you don't have to talk with anybody. You want us to take our camera out, a video camera, and walk around the car and show it to you inside and out, that concierge service, so you can stay at home and not even have to go onto the lot to look at cars. They'll do that. But on the way here, I'm coming down one of the local streets, and a truck in front of me with, I think it was a lawn maintenance truck, slammed on its brakes because something happened to the trailer on the back. We're going downhill, and he slams on his brakes. You see the little smoke come out from the tires, you know, as it skids. I have to slam on my brakes. Now, I'm not tailgating. I'm not that close, but I'm close enough that going downhill, this thing's going to stop. I slam on my brakes. The stuff in my passenger seat goes flying into the floorboard, but I stopped way away from it. So 2 years later, after they had checked the brakes on that thing, when they sold it to me, brakes are still in immaculate condition, and I didn't rear end somebody on my way here. So I'm just saying that when Athens Ford goes through a vehicle that they get in with that 100, plus point inspection thing, they're not just going, oh yeah, everything looks great. Yeah, this is fantastic. No, they actually do go through it with a fine-tooth comb. When I got it, it had new brakes and new tires and new everything. Point being, I can say from a personal safety standpoint that the folks at Athens Ford, even 2 years after I bought a vehicle, are still taking care of me because I got it in immaculate condition, even though it was a 2016. I was bought in 2018, and my thanks to Athens Ford for keeping me safe out there on the roads when I'm probably driving too fast downhill. Anyway, if you get a chance, swing by our friends at Athens Ford. The service out there is phenomenal. They're going to take care of you, and you just can't get a better service or sales experience anywhere in the nation, except for our friends at Athens Ford. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, we've got quite a few.
Going on.
We got quite a few actually, and we would probably have a few more, I think, in recruiting if we hadn't dropped the War Room yesterday. So go over and check out the War Room again.
27 cents a day
I kind of
for a
felt.
War Room?
I kind of felt a little slighted by the news, all the news yesterday, because I was like, man, we got a War Room out. You know, it should be our day.
Why are you talking about the season when we have a War Room? And again, so in the War Room, you mentioned that you felt really strong about Brock Bowers.
Yes.
A few hours later, he commits.
Mm-hmm.
You also sound pretty confident on some other kids. Should we be on commit watch?
I think that you maybe should. Yeah, I think that there is cause perhaps for some commit watch.
Sly dog.
I'm not saying it's going to go down this week. It wouldn't surprise me if it did, but I do think that we're pretty near maybe a decision for Nyland Green. That seems to be a lot of smoke building around that one. That's a 4-star cornerback out in Newton County. Kid who Georgia has coveted for a long time. Looked like it was going all Clemson for a long time. And, things have circled back around. That's huge news for Georgia because this is a kid that they really, really wanted early on. Felt like they were going to have to turn to some other options. I think the shutdown, this is one of those opportunities where it's really benefited them from having the kid close to home. So
Hey, give me a Newton kid, give me a Rockdale kid, Heritage, Eastside.
Yeah.
I'll take any of those. Eastside. Give us some of the questions that popped up.
All right.
But again, 27 cents a day to be a member at UGASports.com. You get the War Room, you get all that reporting. And the new feature being written by Jason Butt over at UGASports.com, the daily recap. Check that out where he just goes through all the stuff that happened the day before. So if you're in a hurry, you're on your way to work, you don't have time, or you're retired like Randy over there, just you read all that in one shot and you don't have to worry that you missed anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Obviously, a lot of people asking about the schedule and what's going to happen. The main question we've got is, we play a football or not? Yeah. I'd be lying to tell you that we knew the answer to that. So I did like this question from McCanty UGA, though. It says, what does if they were to cancel the fall season, how would that look for Jamie Newman? He said, I think he really needs to showcase his skills in a more manageable offense to improve draft stock. But also, and we also wanted him to play meaningful snaps for him. Since we're on the topic, how does a canceled fall season shake up the quarterback room beyond Newman as well? And I know that that's something that a lot of people have asked about, So I guess the consideration here is, does a shakeup in schedule change things drastically for Jamie Newman? I mean, this is a guy who's coming in with some Heisman hype this fall.
Yeah, I can't imagine he plays. Coach, let's get your take on that because you're.
Here's the deal. The what if situation. We can go all day on that, but I do feel like in Jamie's case, I mean, this is his 5th year. So let's just say they don't play in the spring. And then we're saying that they don't play this year and they don't play in the spring, then, he's just going to have to do what he can at the combine. That's the way it would work out, I would think. I wouldn't think he would wait around a whole nother year to come here. Now, if you have spring, that's a different scenario. We would probably see what happens there. And then you also got to factor into the fact that he knows he's going to have to win the job here regardless either way. So that canceling the season would be tough on all of us, but we got to do what's best for the safety and what's going on here. But in his case, I would say, for sure he probably wouldn't come back if we missed the spring. Then if spring, probably 50-50. But the one thing that we do have because I can't remember all these topics when I've got them, but I do have this one thing that I think is really salient to this show is this week. Roddy's always put out everything that George is doing, and he's done a really good job of it. But I do know, based on the rules, that, they set the practice back another week starting next Monday. So this week is all a mental type deal for Georgia, just putting the touches on a lot of walkthroughs, some weight and conditioning, but really just kind of refresh and recharge the batteries, getting ready for next Monday. So I think they're doing every day, just kind of a composite of what they've learned throughout the summer, and then they'll be ready to kick started on Monday, provided we can start. And then, we were seeing around the country different phases that teams are doing. I think North Carolina, Wake Forest, some of those teams are already in pads because they have a game on the 5th. But, some schools are saying you can't go in pads. So we would have 2 days. If we go by the schedule, we would have 2 days in shorts and helmets, a day in shells, which that would give us a situation where they just wear the bare minimum out there, and then they go shoulder pads and helmets for 2 days, and then they can kick out and do actual contact, which I would think they're going to be really, really safe and secure on how much contact they have. I mean, you can do a lot of football without taking guys to the ground. I mean, you can really coach them up. That's what you do in the pros, what we call thud, which is go full speed, but don't put them on the ground.
I feel like this is going to be a mental week for all of us.
Yeah. Dane, coach says that if the season's moved to the spring, he says like 50-50 that Jamie Newman plays in the spring. My thought is if football's moved to the spring, he just says, hey, it's great. I've already done my time at Wake Forest. I've got tape out there. The NFL drafts based on, potential. So he goes and starts working out to prepare for the combine. What's your take, Dane? What do you think? What do you see? And again, the question was, what does Georgia's quarterback room look like? If Newman doesn't play, you still have JT Daniels, the 5-star, the guy that was a year younger than Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, but still ranked number 4 in the nation, ranked right behind him. A guy who I'm hearing great things about in practice. Well, I mean, just, in the player-led stuff. So as what Coach said, look, he Newman's still got to win the job. So I get that. But my thought is, or my question to Dane is, Dane, do you see him, Newman, sticking it out and playing in the spring? What if they start in January? Does he play? Oh, can't hear you, Dane.
Got me now?
Yeah,
There you go.
Fun. Good times, technology. You'll still have Dwan Mathis as well. And, that's a guy to watch too, just because of what he can do with his feet. And so whenever the season happens, I'm skeptical that spring makes sense for a season, just because that's a lot of games pushed together in one calendar year and really just a handful of months. But, what do I know? I'm just a talking head on a YouTube feed right now. So I'm definitely not privy to the conversations that say, can spring football happen? Say again?
So when you're not muted, yeah.
Yeah, when I'm not muted, that's for sure.
I do feel like what you said there, the spring is definitely something that we got to consider because of that. But I do feel like the fact that we keep moving things back, we could still move back to October, I think, if we need to, just because of, you're better off there than just, than just saying stop. I mean, I think keep backing it up till you can't back it up anymore. And, but as a parent, as a coach, there's a lot of concerns out there. I mean, you're seeing some of these kids with, everybody wants to play and all the coaches are fighting to play and everything, but that's not the idea here. Is what's best for the overall, everybody would love for us to play, but what's best for the safety value. That's what's all going to boil down to.
Coach, I want to get your take on this. It seemed like was it Friday that the SEC announced the additional teams. Yep. The Big Ten was announcing the schedule and who's going to play where. And then it seemed like from Friday afternoon by Sunday night in a 48-hour stretch, all of a sudden they went to everything is shutting down. Now, you were way ahead of this. You were hearing this stuff on Saturday before it all kind of broke Sunday night. What do you think changed in the thought processes of the Big Ten, the Pac-12? We've seen these schools. Let me put it this: we've seen speculation that it was the players getting organized, but it seemed like the players got organized after it looked like the season was going to be shut down. I know there was some talk in the Big 12 of stuff that they wanted to do, but a lot of people are saying that this is a reaction to unionization talks. This is a reaction to the reports about, people who get COVID having mitochondria, however you say that, a thickening of the heart muscle, because of any respiratory illness can give you a heart issue that's not. They're looking at some of these people that have had it, 3 months later, their hearts are still not back to normal yet. So there's that fear. Was it medical fear? Was it money fear? Was it testing fear? Was it, I've heard power politics. The Big Ten's like, no, we're not going to be led by anybody else. So what do you think is at the crux of this shift from, hey, we're all playing, we moved it back, we're going conference only, to it's all done, it's all over?
Well, I've never heard that from the SEC. We've been very,
out west, I should say.
Sure. I think the first thing would be, I don't think everybody reacted when all these kids started talking about the representation on getting money for their likeness and all that. We didn't see a lot of all these schools, hey, let's get behind the kids and let them do it. I mean, there wasn't anything, but now that they're talking about, wanting to play and all that. But I think it all started when the Big Ten just saw all of a sudden, you heard those rumors that they voted to stop, and then you had tremendous blowback from everybody that they were doing it too quickly. And now the Pac-12 is saying that all we're going to do right now is take a pause, So you're getting different people around the country, different kind of medical advice maybe from some parts of the nation than the others. And I'm just going to go as I always have for the last 25 years. Whatever Ron Corson and Dr. Sayers say, I'm for that. If they think it's okay, I'm okay with it. If they don't, they won't let them go. I mean, they got that kind of authority and they know what to do. But you keep reading about these experts at different levels, and who knows who the experts are and who aren't. But I just feel like that the SEC and the ACC, to me right now, have really had a pretty good plan to this point, including their schedules. Cutting back on their schedules, cutting back on their conference. So to answer your question very succinctly, the Big Ten said a couple weeks ago, we're going conference only. And then everybody said, we're going to go conference only. Now the Big Ten says, hey, we might be counting the season out and postponing it. Nobody jumped on that like they did on the conference only. So you didn't get a lot of agreement on the fact that everybody was ready to cancel. And now we've seen Mountain West drop it. We got a couple of the non-power teams conferences going, though. Sun Belt, Conference USA, although Old Dominion's dropping out. So what I've heard, bottom line is, if the SEC can get the ACC and the Big 12 to go along with them, and maybe one of these other leagues like AAC or Sun Belt, then it's a lot easier. But all of a sudden, if all four major conferences go out, the optics of you trying to play and everybody else not is not good, in my opinion.
Dane, let me get your thoughts on this. And we've heard the same thing from a lot of people. If of the Power Five conferences, 4 of them out, and the SEC's left on the island, they won't do it. Coach says it is bad optics, and everyone will be like, well, you're going to get the criticism. You only care about money instead of players' health. But if Ron Corson and the committee on playing, successful competition, a healthy competition, if Ron Corson, those folks say, hey, we think you can play, but the experts at the 4 other conferences say we can't. And let me stop before I get too far. What I was going to add, Jake, was what I heard, the reason the Big Ten flipped was that their health experts said, we're not as confident as we were. So it wasn't about.
And I do think that some of that may have been a spillover from what you saw from the MAC.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think that they're in similar geography, similar circles. I do think that was a consideration.
Right. So we saw that everyone was saying, what happened with the Big Ten? Was it about unionization? No, I heard that their health experts said, hang on, we're not as comfortable as we were recommending playing. So that's why the Big Ten was having these votes.
And one thing about the Big Ten, though, they got 2 presidents there one of them is an epidemiologist, or however how you pronounce it, and the other one's an immunologist or whatever. So, I mean, you got two presidents really that are not only, experts on running the university, but they're expert doctors too. So I'm sure they're getting their 2 cents in on it too. So I don't know that we have anybody like that in the SEC as far as the president.
That's a great point. So I had no idea that. So you learn something from Coach every day. But if you have a situation where, and Anthony Dasher wrote a story column the other day saying, look, the SEC, Greg Sankey, you have Ron Corson and the other experts to give you advice on whether or not you should go. So far, the SEC medics and doctors and trainers and all are saying, look, we have third-party testing systems, so no coaches can say, oh yeah, he's fine, rub some dirt on it. You got 3 tests a week. We reported that before anybody else. We said there'd be 3 tests. Now we find out there can be 4 tests. We broke some news yesterday that players at UGA are getting the blood-drawn antibodies test. I don't think anybody reported that. So they're actually able to go in and say who's had this and who hasn't within the correctness of that test. It's not as accurate as the current test, but they can figure that out. So Dane, what happens if 4 universities say, our experts say no, but the SEC experts say yes? It's bad optics, but do you trust your people, or do you let optics overrule the day?
It's an unenviable position that Greg Sankey is in to lead the conference, right? Greg Sankey he's got a chance to build a legacy one way or the other for the SEC in the coming weeks. And you hope that it's in the right direction. And look, I mean, if everyone else cancels and the SEC move forward, think about how that capitalizes on the attention for the fall, and just how that could further set the conference apart if it can be done safely. Again, that's what they have to make those decisions. I'm like, Coach, if Ron Corson says it works, then yeah, there's a way to do it. And so I think Greg Sankey would listen heavily to that. Nick Saban comes out yesterday and says, we've proven that we can keep the guys safe in our structure. Now, the question is, can you keep that safe within the structure of being in college around other people, crowding together in places? That's the question. But if these players really want to play as badly as they say they want to through hashtags, then their behavior is going to have to match that when they're away from the football facilities.
And that's what we are not seeing. And that's why I'm turning to Jake, who's our downtown Athens expert, our mullet growing, beer drinking party animal here.
Sure.
So the players are adamant they want to play. And we saw a bunch of, coaches and presidents yesterday tweeting out, look, we've done 1,000 tests, we've had 45 positives, and then we've had 0 positives in the last 30 days. But, and you can't put the kids in a bubble. That is not an option, starting the 20th, what is that, this Friday or next Friday, something like that. 20th is coming soon. The students at UGA, 30,000 of them return to campus. We already go downtown, you see students out.
Yeah, sure.
Not exactly social distancing, not exactly masking up. Some are, some aren't. It's kind of hit or miss. I wear a mask. I'm for it, regardless of whether or not it works, just because if it works, great. If it doesn't, I'm not really
You're not losing out on
exactly, I'm not really losing out. And I want to play football.
Sure.
And I was told that this would do it, that we can play football. But we're not seeing that downtown. Players come back, they're prime of their lives, 18 to 21, 18, 22-year-olds, incredibly popular on campus. Will they say, no, not going out to, not going to that party, not going out to see everybody? Can that happen?
I have my doubts on that, to be honest with you. I really do. And the problem is not that I don't think you got to worry about your leaders. I don't think you got to worry about your top guys, but it's only as good as the weakest link in the chain. Great point. You only have to have one guy. We've seen it in the MLB. Jose Urena goes out to the club, comes back, 17 people. Suddenly they're delaying games. All this goes down. It's only got to take one guy to mess it up for all the guys. And that's where my concern lies. Can you get everybody on that same page? I just don't know. It's a lot to ask college kids not to party. Yeah. It's a lot to ask them, maybe not even to not go downtown, but I mean, maybe they're having a friend over to the room, you know what I'm saying? Or there's so many variables at play here, and you've got so many kids that you have to account for in this situation. That's where the concern lies for me. I think that it's too much of a temptation, especially if you're a guy, who's sitting around, you're going into practice, you're getting your head beat in, you're not playing on Saturdays. You think, man, what am I even doing here if I'm not having a good time? If I'm not enjoying myself, that's where the concern lies.
But then you go downtown, it's like, well, I just happen to be a, third string preferred walk-on long snapper, but you play football?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
One day I'll get to the story about how I helped a friend of mine who's a musician downtown. I held a guitar for him, and the minute I put it down, people come up, "Hey, are you a musician?" And I was like, "Holy crap! This is great."
Yeah. If anybody ever asks you downtown, are you? Just say yes.
Oh, yeah,
I'm that guy.
I taught him.
Yeah.
I taught him. It was a good night. I'm just saying, just by holding a guitar. So if all of a sudden you're down there in your leather jacket or you're in your, people say, "Yo, hey, look, here I am on the roster."
Guy. Yeah.
I'm on the roster. So it works. I get it. I do worry about that, but at the same time, these players, I think maybe, I don't say they've been scared straight, but when you say, "Oh no, we're taking the season away,"
Sure.
then all of a sudden they're like, you saw how many of them said, "Look, I'm for a bubble. I want to play. I'm willing to do whatever it takes," because now you've had that threat. I do think that Nick Saban, and I mentioned this, Nick Saban copied me. I'm going to go ahead and say that right now. I said last night, or the night before last, or whatever, on Twitter, I said, look, players are going to get COVID. Some are going to get sick. 1, 2 may even die if they play football in the SEC or any school. If they go home, or even if they stay on campus,
sure,
and just work out and there's no football, players are going to get COVID. Some are going to get sick, and one or a few may even die. If they go home and they're at a local gym, they can get it there. If they go home, go to local wing spot, they can get it there. It is possible. I'm not saying that it is equal.
Sure.
A lot of people, "Oh, you're just getting into herd." No, I'm just saying that this thing is a very virulent disease, and the way it jumps from person to person is amazing.
Well, I know you even put something on Facebook earlier today that I saw and thought was a good point. It's like blaming people for how this happens. I'm sitting here thinking, these kids don't even have to go downtown. All you got to do is go sit and lecture with next to one kid who's got the sniffles, and suddenly, you're with it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even have to be a mistake. It's not even something that you have to make a conscious decision.
Right. We're victim blaming, saying these. In other words, what I don't want to get into, and I thought that Nick Saban made a good point. He said, "Look, these players are safer here than they are at home. We're testing 3-4 times a week," or in his case, he said, "Look, we test these kids like I think every Monday. They can get a test at the drop of a hat anytime they request one." We've seen other people in town saying, "Look, I wanted to get a test, but the only testing option is like 4 days from now. Then I have to wait 4 days to get my results back." That's not happening on college campuses. If you're UGA and you want to get a test, you're going to get it right away, and you're going to get your results back. So sending these kids out into the world and saying, "Hey, good luck with whatever health plan your folks have. Good luck in wherever you need to work out." I just don't know that is safer than being a UGA. Now, granted, tackling a grown man and lining up across from someone,
probably gonna get some spit on you. Yeah.
Here's what we don't know, though. Here's what we don't know.
Yes.
We've had these bubbles for basketball and soccer and everything, and now they're starting to do better in baseball. But we really don't have any data yet about football, because nobody's really gone out there and scrimmaged or gone 11 on 11, or we don't have any of that. Even the high schools still are doing 7 on 7 and all that. So I think that's what's great to me about the projection of putting off the decision. Let's see what happens here. We've done pretty good over these 2 months of learning how to deal with it, to test, to educate the players, everything around the country. I know Notre Dame started class today, and they did a pre-test deal with their whole student body, that some way they did it. And they had less than 0.5% of their 10,000 students were positive. So they're starting out with a pretty good slate there. when school starts. But who knows now that they're all together and they're around other people. But you just got so many people involved with football that aren't playing football. To me, that's a real issue here. All the support staff, all the coaches, everybody involved, and they're going to wear masks and they're going to do all that. But like Roddy said, people are going to get sick and all, but maybe what about these older people that are on the staff and all that? I think you got to look at all that too. And to me, you saw Maryland 2 years ago shut down their whole program when a kid died from overheating, and it just had such a terrible effect on the whole deal. The coach was fired, everything. They did a poor job on it, but we don't need to have that happen to really figure out whether we should be playing or not.
Yeah. A few things off of that too, though, is one, if basketball and soccer can play, I mean, those players are right up on each other for the entire game and not transmit it. I would think football's probably going to be okay when you have the face mask in between and they're wearing gloves. Yeah, they're going to be, you get the piles and tackles and all that stuff. To me, that seems logical. Now, again, some of this stuff is not logical. So, however that goes from there.
Touch.
However, the one thing I want to mention is the University of Georgia is mandating masks on campus. So while Athens in some restaurants and places, while if they go elsewhere, they may not have to wear a mask. If they're going to be on campus, they're going to be told to wear a mask. And if they don't have a mask, they're going to be given a mask. They've already been given 2 reusable masks, and there's a ton of the masks that just can be handed out of the disposable variety. The other thing too is I think we discount sometimes how much, the 18 to 22-year-olds like to party. But at their age in 2020, they've been through some stuff too. And so they're seasoned. They kind of know that, like, hey, things are a little bit different right now. And if you want it to where you stay on campus and aren't being told go home like the spring, you might have to act a little bit different this time around. And I think some will, some won't. You're just hoping that more do than the ones that don't.
I think all of us need to go online and listen to that kid from Ohio State that was a 5th-year senior, and he's the captain of the team. And right before they started practice, after they did all the things we've done, they started practice a little earlier than we did. And he got up in front of the whole team. It only lasts about 1 minute and 10 seconds. But he said, last year when I was hurt and I couldn't play, you don't know the feeling that I had watching you guys play in the playoffs and doing everything. And now this is my 5th year, and I've worked and rehabbed, and I'm ready to go, and this is my last shot. I'm counting on every one of you to do what you're supposed to do, just like I'm going to do, so we can play football. You owe it to me. You owe it to the seniors. You owe it to everybody to act right and go by the protocol. Listen to your coaches. Listen to your trainers, because I'm counting on you so I can have the season that I've been building up my whole life for having. And that's a little bit individually, but it's also a team wise, showing some good leadership there, I thought.
I think you're right, Coach. And I was making the point with a friend the other day saying, look, you rely on players to not do stupid things, but each year we see a player get arrested. Sure. I'm not saying at Georgia, I'm saying in general. What were you doing? Underage drinking. Okay. What were you doing? Driving without a license. Now that is a Georgia thing,
Yeah.
Shooting BB guns. Okay. Fireworks, whatever, something stupid. Got into a fight. We see that happen.
Busted with a little weed.
Busted with weed. Hey, you're going on spring break. Don't eat those brownies. We just don't do it. But my first reaction is they have the same impetus every year not to do something stupid, but they still do, because we're all idiots. I do stupid stuff all the time.
We give into our base desire.
We do. And we think nothing will happen to us. I won't get caught.
Right.
This is only other people. This only happens to other people. I'm immortal. Nothing bad can happen to me. But it's never really been a situation where, okay, if I get busted for underage drinking, I'm suspended. Yes, I hurt the team if I'm a starter or something like that, or I can't go to practice. But now if I do something stupid, I can hurt the entire program. It's it's like, it's not just on you. If you go out and do something rash or something that's not in the recommendations, you can shut down the entire program. We're seeing that in baseball. We're seeing that in some of these other sports, and hopefully that will serve as a lesson to some of these kids. Hey, pay attention. Don't do stupid things. We talk about some of the safety measures that places are taking. I want to mention our friends over at Academia Brewing Company. We're knocking back their beers right now.
As always.
They are putting together a beer garden outside.
Fantastic.
So, they have, if you go inside the place, it's gigantic. So there's plenty of room where if you're sitting down having a meal, you're not next to somebody. And of course, they have,
You can social distance at dinner.
being that they are a brewery, they have alcohol and everything is immaculate out there. But outside, they are creating their own beer garden. So you can actually have more dining outside. And when the weather starts turning a little bit nicer, it's not quite as warm outside. Or if you go even now in the middle of summer, if you go out there in the evenings, the weather's fantastic. You get the big open skies out on the west side of town. But shout out to Academia Brewing Company and their new beer garden. So if you're like, look, I don't want to sit too close to somebody. I want to sit outside where I get that fresh air blowing through. Our friends at Academia can do that. Plus, you can have fantastic beers, fantastic food. So just they're being smart about it.
Yeah.
And so also want to mention our friends at Europe. If you use their app, and it ended yesterday, but if you actually use their app over the last 3 days, you were entered in to win a Tabasco sauce prize pack. Had like
Just for doing.
just
Just
for
for
ordering
eating.
food.
Yeah.
So do us a favor, and if you're going to order any food, check out or any pizza before you go get it from one of these disgusting chain places, or the local place down on the corner. Try a Europe pie. Just if you don't like it, let me know. It would be the first time I heard a bad word about Europe pie, but everybody that's ever tried Europe pie has told me that it's one of their favorite pizzas, if not their favorite, because it's so well customized and done exactly the way you want it. So with the doing the right thing angle and saying, being smart about it, use their app. Download the Europe Pie app, type it in, tell them what type of pizza you want. There you go. Look, Dave's got it. Showed up. So it shows you the pizza, Southern Heat. That's my favorite. You can change the crust. You can change the sauce. You can change the toppings. You can add all these toppings. It's still the same price. By the time you get there, it'll be warm, perfectly done for you. They'll bring it out to the car. Hell, they'll put it in the back seat, as touchless as you want. Yeah, you get the keto cauliflower crust.
There you go.
Who the hell does that? So if you're on a keto diet and you think I can't have pizza, because I'm losing weight, yeah, you can. You can have your keto pizza. So, and you can load it up with as much meat as you want. And it's not, that'll be $1.50. That'll be another $1.50. That'll be another $1.50. That'll be another $1.50. No, it's the same price. So just saying that constantly have deals. I know people are big. Oh, there goes the Nat. Named after Natalie French. So Drew and Natalie French, congrats. Oh, by the way, happy birthday to Natalie. She just had a birthday. I think she's 22, 23 years old now. So happy birthday to Nat. And
she's an accomplished artist too. You can find some of her work.
Badass. But shout out to our friends at Academia Brewing Company and Europe Pie. All right, let's jump to some other questions.
Well, this is a fun one because Georgia fans are just sharks. This is what this has told me. Because the number one question I got yesterday was, so if the Big Ten cancels, who does that help us with in recruiting? Oh, you
all let a crisis go to
you all
waste.
waste no time, do you?
Don't think Dylan McGee didn't think the same thing.
It's a cutthroat business.
Yeah.
Baby.
So I do think that there are some guys that it would benefit you with significantly. One guy, we wrote about this guy yesterday in the War Room. That's Donovan Edwards. Top 100 running back in the nation, out of Michigan. Kid that's going to be looking to see how things play out this season. Now, it's going to depend on whether or not Donovan Edwards pushes his decision out. We don't have any indication that anything's coming soon.
Right.
So if he goes into November, December, I was told, Georgia is going to be a real factor in this throughout. I do think that the opportunity to watch them play and put themselves on the field gives him an idea of how you could be used. Whereas if the other team's sitting at home, who knows what they're doing, right? So I do think that it could be helpful there. I do. Now, what is weird and what will have to be worked out, and I think we're a long way from getting to this because we haven't even determined whether or not there will be football, is will visits take place? If one conference shuts down, do other conferences still get to host visits? There's a million questions I think around recruiting, and I think recruiting honestly couldn't be further on the back burner right now.
I want to go to Coach Donovan on that. Coach, it seems like the NCAA is not exactly driving the truck on all this stuff, but they do get to determine recruiting policy, and it seems like all we've heard from them is no visits for this month. Oh, no visits next month. Oh, no visits for the month after that. All they're doing is seems to be kicking the can down the road. And the coach is like, look, we can't have full practices yet. Or hell, we might not even have a season. Can we at least recruit? And it seems like the recruiting question is nowhere on the radar. Am I wrong about that? I mean,
but it definitely isn't on the radar. But realistically, if it's not safe for your own team to go out there and practice and do everything, how in the world can you invite somebody to come to your campus and from outside?
They're letting the guys do walkthroughs and stuff like that. You tell them a kid can't come and take a campus tour?
Well, I mean, you're looking at it like I would look at it, but I mean, if you're looking at it from the all around, can you imagine how many recruits there are and how many times you're going to take a guy from his normal background into a situation that he's never been in before, and you're asking him to go by protocol and you don't know if he's going to do that, and all of a sudden he comes to a campus and you're just subjecting yourself to people aren't going to have the discipline that your own players have just because they haven't been taught that. So usually you find out a lot about a kid when he comes to campus. Some of them go crazy. I mean, some of them, that I've looked at some guys on Saturday and Sunday morning that don't look like the way they look Friday night. I mean, when they come and you try to tell these kids to be responsible and everything, but it's just, I just don't think, as much as I'd like for them to make the visits, I just don't see how you can really do anything but keep it on the back burner until you establish the fact what the protocol is going to be for playing and all. And, sending coaches out, and let's say Hartley's recruiting, wants to make a home visit with Bowers, and he flies out to Napa, and then he comes back after going through several airports and doing all that stuff. And now it's just a lot of what ifs, and
That's a good point.
I feel like this virtual recruiting, although it's terrible, is working out okay, but I would think it'd take a real cold-blooded recruiter to say to a kid, hey, they're not even going to play football. Why you want to go there? Why don't you come to our place?
Yeah, Kirby would never do that.
Yeah, no. I want to ask, though, Coach, do you think that if one division or one conference decides not to play and others go forward, does that impact, I guess, how athletes view that conference as a whole? Maybe not even the school they're considering, but just the precautions that conference is taking. Do they think they don't value football as much as they do?
I think you can look at it two ways.
They're really concerned about my health.
Right.
Yeah,
So
you
it
look
could
at,
be
look at it two ways. First of all, you can look at it like you just said, hey, football's not that big to them. This is academics and all that. Or you can look at it like a parent. Hey, this place here is really valuing the safety of my son, and I'm going to, you look at it, and it's not to say that the schools that are playing aren't going to value the safety, and it's not to say that the schools that aren't playing. So, but man, we got a lot of what ifs here today. I mean, it's.
Well, what if we get through all the questions?
Yeah.
They want to have a Tylenol.
I will say on the visits, it may be important to know what campus is doing for prospective students, not necessarily athletes. So some colleges on campus.
People take visits that aren't athletes?
Well, yeah, they kind of want to see what the campus is about. And they want to see Sanford Stadium and they want to go downtown. But I would say that it's mostly online, just like football has been doing of what they're doing for classes and prospective high school seniors. But the other thing are the ones that are actually hosting students. It's one-on-one stuff. And when these football players come on recruiting visits, they're being passed around to a lot of people so they can meet so many people in the programs. You just can't do that safely right now.
Yeah, and I think that you have to make it, in my opinion, the way to work this out, you see if you can play the season, go through the season, no visits, and then worry about recruiting maybe when January starts up. And I think that that's really the only way to handle it. Now, I still have the early signing period if you want. I think that there are guys who know where they want to be and want to get it done. That's great. but maybe you give them a little even extension on the February date and give them some extra time to take a couple more visits.
That's fair. Get out here with your reasonable take.
No, I really like this question from JRM Pats 07. He says, talking about the camp circuit being canceled this summer, which has been terrible. I've really missed the opportunity to get out and see these guys in person. But he says, in your opinion, of the current Georgia commits, who would have been the highest riser through the summer under normal circumstances? I trend obviously toward the 3-star guys, and the guy that jumped off the page to me was Dylan Fairchild.
Yep.
I really think Fairchild is the guy who would have really climbed the ranks with a full summer camp circuit. And I'm basing that solely on watching the tape. And if you haven't watched Dylan's tape, please go watch it because it is so much fun to watch. Just a guy who plays all across the field. I mean, this is not some lumbering giant out there playing tackle.
He's a wrestler, 47-0.
Yeah, he's quick up into the second level. He's a guy who can pancake you. He's a guy who doesn't quit on the block. He's nasty. He'll knock you down and keep pushing you. I mean, he's got the full package. Looks like physically he's right where you want him right now. I think he can put some more weight on when he gets to the next level and really kind of increase his muscle mass. But overall, I think Dylan Fairchild, a guy who could really have benefited from the summer camp circuit. And maybe Georgia's probably glad that he didn't, because they'd have a little bit bigger fight on their hands than they already do.
I'm telling you, Dalvin Tomlinson.
I can see it.
Give me Austin Blasky, another state champion wrestler.
Yeah.
If I'm the coaches now and I'm looking for offensive linemen, I used to go out to the shot put arena and see who's checking it out there. And you can show me a wrestler, give me one of those kids. I'll take it every time.
Ronnie Brown, our good buddy over here, with a question for Coach. He says, Coach, what do you see as far as versatility in the backfield? I know Cook is a solid receiver out of the backfield, but some question marks behind him. What are your thoughts on Monken's use of the running backs in the passing games with what we have?
Well, certainly I like McIntosh. I mean, he's already proven he can catch the ball out of the backfield. Milton is going to develop. I haven't gotten to see him since he got here, except a little bit before the spring. And then, of course, Zamir, he's such a good straight-ahead guy and power guy that people don't talk about him catching the ball, but he's good enough out of the backfield too. I think we'll do it's been proven with Edo Smith, who played for the Falcons when he played for Southern Miss. They throw the ball to the backs a lot, and I can see that being a real big part, heavy part of our scheme, because everybody's going to be worried about the zone read. So when you fake, you got the zone read and the quarterback's got the threat of keeping the ball, and then you can dump the ball off to your back after you fake it to him or hit your tight end. That's going to be a real prevalent part of our package from what I've seen watching Todd's offense in the past. So I think we'll see backs catch more passes than they've ever caught here, Georgia.
Surprised me to see a back actually leading receptions.
Right up there. Now that would be
think about everybody's gonna be freaking out about George Pickens.
I wouldn't go on that now, but
I'm just you watch.
Coach just said, "Don't bet that money, Roddy."
Just hit you with a pump the brakes, man.
It would not shock me, because I think you're gonna see everybody up on George Pickens and Blaylock and Demetrius Robertson and be like, okay, well, if y'all gonna keep giving us that, here's that dump, here's that dump, here's that dump. Over and over again.
I don't care if they got 3 guys on Pickens. I'm going to throw it to them.
That's completely fair.
Yeah, that is fair. Yeah, never mind.
That's why you're in the College Football Hall of Fame, and Roddy's
I'm here eating wings.
wings.
Oh, yeah, we're about to eat wings. We need to get through these questions.
Yes.
Hurry up.
All right, we're going to hit these real quick. I don't know the answer to this one. I'm not sure you guys do either, but I'll throw it to you. My good buddy Merrick Egan, had a chance to meet him out at the opening last year. Shout out to Merrick. He says, do opt-outs count against the 85? I don't know the answer to that. I would assume so.
What's the question?
Do opt-out players count against the 85 scholarship limit?
Yes, they do.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. I did not know that. See, I learned.
I mean, you can't bring in somebody if somebody opts out. You can't do that.
Now, there is precedent, though, that the NCAA could change roster, numbers. They did that with baseball based on what happened in the spring. So that would have to adjust first.
If all of a sudden we move to the spring, then you're going to have a real different situation there, because you got those kids that want to come in as early enrollees and maybe somebody you thought might not play his senior year decides to play his senior year. That's going to be a real cluster there as far as the 80.
Roddy, this one for you. Yes, sir, over on the board wants to know, last week we heard schedule dates for the SEC should drop this week. With the latest developments, do you think that's still going to happen?
Yes.
You do think we'll get dates this week?
What does it hurt?
What do you have to lose at this point?
They've already worked them out, or they're working them out. They're like, look, here's the dates if we can play. Plus, you saw Sankey come out the last 2 days with kind of a strong, we're sticking with what we've had. We're not making any adjustments based on don't forget the power politics that are going on in this. There are a lot of politics going on between the conferences. And
I would think it looked really bad based on everybody talking about, are you going to play or not, to come out with your schedule. Let's see where the schedule's made. It's going to come out. So yeah. I'm just glad we got, the chance to start practice on Monday. That's what we got to do. And then we'll see what happens. But I will ask you a rhetorical question here. And maybe it's not a rhetorical question. Just a question here. When I'm going to say about a guy on our team that please don't overlook, okay? Please keep it in your wheelhouse. Understand that this guy might be a real factor for the Dogs, okay? Who is the only player on Georgia's roster that's from Rhode Island?
Xavier Truss.
This doesn't sound rhetorical.
Bingo.
Yeah. The X factor, huh? Possibly.
Well,
wow.
I mean, you're going to need depth to emerge on the offensive line.
Can I say right tackle?
I can see it. All right. I want to hit.
You didn't really react to that very much, Roddy.
No, because you said rhetorical question. Now you're telling me exactly that he's going to be
No, not necessarily. I'm just saying, watch out for the guy.
No, hey, every time you say watch out for the guy, I make a little mental note, because every time you say that guy's a starter in a couple weeks. So
I don't know that.
I need to reach out to Jason Butt and say,
seems like you know some things.
Write me a story about Xavier Truss.
Speaking of which, go read Jason's story on Dejan Warren. Great update on him. A lot of UGA recruiting.
How are we looking on him?
I think that it's going to be a big fight, but Georgia still sitting there, supposedly going to get that last visit. Penn State's going to make it tough on him, I believe. But Georgia right in the thick of things. I like their chances of being able to pull that one out.
I need to go visit him in Scranton.
I mean, we're going to lose some corners.
I have a aunt who lives in Bloomsburg. It's only about an hour away.
I thought you were just a big Office fan.
No. But and I've been to Scranton. It's actually a great town. So
Scranton, Pennsylvania?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The worst thing that ever happened to me in recruiting, as far as being embarrassed, happened to me in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I'm a Southern boy up north recruiting the guys between us and Penn State. I just got me a new courtesy car, and I put the keys in my overcoat, okay? And I drove it to the Raleigh-Durham airport. I flew up there. I took this kid out to eat, rented a car, took this kid out to eat, took him in there and gave him all kind of stuff, talking to him about really how good he's going to be, player for us and everything. I left the house, got back in the car, and the car wouldn't start.
Oh.
I went back there to the parents and said, could you drive me to the airport? I go to the airport the next morning after I stayed I was right beside the airport. It was snowing and everything. I go over there and I tell the Hertz lady or Avis or wherever it is, I said, look, I can't get my car to start. Could you please tell me what's going on here? It's over here in front of this kid's house. I'm going to take this plane. She said, okay, you got the keys. I reached in my pocket, gave her the keys to my courtesy car. And I said, oh, me. I said, I think the keys here in my other pocket will probably work.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Did you land the kid, though? That's all that matters. Did you land him?
No, Joe Pa got him.
Damn you, Joe Pa.
Joe Pa said, you don't want to go down there to North Carolina. I can get you a job up here. Working for the state. Your dad can get a job. Your mama can get a job. Your sister can get a job.
No, that stuff never happens, Coach. Come on.
They don't cheat.
Phoebe says, and Phoebe knows, that smoke and cinders spoil good clothes. That's why it is a pleasure and delight to take the road of anthracite. Phoebe Snow Brand Laundry. From a poster I bought in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
All right. Wow.
Advertising.
Man, raise our pockets, man.
All right.
Square.
Last question here. Pop Tab 4599 wants to know for the Corey Foreman visit, which we did drop a note about that over the weekend. Go check that out.
What? The number one player of the nation?
Yeah. We should be finding something out about maybe him taking that Brock Bowers approach and taking a visit on his own
Brock
time.
Vandagriff, where are you?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what Pop Tab wants to know. He says, well, will this be turned over to the Vandagriffs? Do you think Amarius Mims will be in town to help sail 1 versus 2 going against each other for 3 years to make it better? I think all of that is very possible. Obviously, you haven't landed Amarius yet. I don't know that he's going to be out there recruiting on behalf of the Bulldogs, but Brock Vandagriff absolutely will. I said on the board yesterday, you get Malik Herring, Jordan Davis. Those are your 2 DL reps. You get JT Daniels and you get Kendall Milton. Those are your 2 California guys. You have them team up on him. Go for it as hard as you can. Sounds like there's some legitimate interest. I know things kind of died out there for a minute, but really a lot of smoke picking up around Georgia and Corey Foreman.
But so here's a question I got to have for you. The idea that Corey Foreman doesn't want to come this far across the country, wants to stay kind of in the West Coast. That was what we were told was the reason he decommitted from Clemson. Clemson has very few decommitments. We're told it's a distance issue. How legit was that?
Not very. I mean, he was committed to Clemson, like we said, LSU looks to be the other big contender right now. Oregon's in the mix, USC, but I don't think that this is a kid who has any qualms about playing anywhere across the country.
I'm just saying that's all I've seen is, well, Georgia's not in it because it's too far away. And I'm like,
I think he ends up in the Southeast. I don't know if it'll be at Georgia, but I do think LSU, Clemson, or Georgia.
Okay, sounds good. Coach, anything else you want to add to the show?
I think in the case of him, though, doesn't Dabo have a deal that if you're going to take visits, then you need to decommit from us? Yeah. And so he wanted to make some visits. So Dabo said, okay, make them, but felt like they could still hold on to him. But, for some reason, Clemson hadn't been on fire lately on the recruiting. I mean, had the one kid decommit and go to Ohio State, and we'll see how it goes. But you guys make sure you devour those wings in about two bites.
Yeah, we're going to.
It won't be hard.
We would offer Dane some food, but he lives too far away.
I'll say this on Foreman real fast, though, because Connor Shaw told me one time that they had to pretty much stop practice sometimes because Jadeveon Clowney would not allow the offense to work in practice. He was so good. From what I've seen on Foreman on tape, there's some Clowney-like athleticism with that guy.
Absolutely. There was that rumor going around last week about them potentially transferring to Grace, and doesn't sound like there was anything to it now. But I have said on the board selfishly, I hope he goes to Grace, and I'd love to go watch him play about 2 or 3 times this year.
That would be
Kid's
fun.
a stud.
That'd be fun to watch. All right, folks. Be sure to tune in next Tuesday at noon. We will have more UJ Sports Live for you then with Coach Don and Dane Young. We might even have Jake Roos on, depending on how many of these wings he eats in front of me. If it's too many, maybe we bring on Trent, we'll see. Be sure to have your questions in. Follow us at UJ Sports. Daily recaps, Jason Butt's articles, what to look for when Georgia plays Tennessee, Dave McMahon's recaps from the PGA Championship. He was actually there on the grounds and did a great job with that. So tons of stuff at UGASports.com that you can't miss. We will talk to you next Tuesday, and hopefully by then we will know whether or not there's going to be a season.
We'll see. Fingers crossed.
Everybody, y'all take care.